everyone, I'm Michelle from A Common Life, and if you are new to my channel, I am the homeschooling mom of 5 children. Their ages range from 3 to 11, and in the mix I have 2 children with special needs. So I am teaming up with my friend Tanya from Project Happy Home, and we are going to be doing a short series on how to live life with children with special needs. Now, Tanya has a son who has ADHD, so she will be talking about how to deal with ADHD, and this week we're going to be doing 1 tip to help. So I will go ahead and link to her channel up there. Now, I have 2 children with sensory processing disorders. So if you have children with sensory processing or sensory integration disorders, or just children who are very sensitive in general, please keep watching this video. Give you a little bit of background on how we found out that our children have special needs and basically the process behind that. So very quickly, it was very obvious with our younger child. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics here on which child has which disabilities and whatnot. I do want to respect their privacy. So I'm going to kind of just give you a broad understanding of what's going on in our family. So anyway, with our younger child who has a sensory integration disorder, it was obvious from the start, as soon as he was a baby, that something was very different. He cried literally for the first 10 months of his life. He cried all the time. I could not put him down. He only slept in very short stretches. He was not a very good eater. He didn't even eat solid foods until he was over a year old. So there were obviously definitely some delays and some struggles that we had going on. But at the time, the doctors didn't really understand because he was so little. And so they tested him for colic, which he didn't have colic, and they tested him for lots of different things. I had to take dairy out of my diet for a while. And we tried to figure out why he was crying all the time, and we just couldn't figure it out. So later on, when he was about 3 years old, I took him to an occupational therapist per the recommendation of my pediatrician. And the occupational therapist was able to tell us that, yes, he does have a sensory processing disorder. And so we went ahead and had some occupational therapy done for that. Along with the sensory processing disorder, he has some other disabilities as well. They are milder, and they're kind of they don't affect his day-to-day life. But the sensory processing disorder definitely does. He struggles basically on a day-to-day basis because of it. Now, our other child, he also has a sensory processing disorder, and his, I think when he was younger, it wasn't so bad. As he got a little bit older, it changed a little bit. He used to have these meltdowns that would last 2.5 hours, where he would literally scream and cry for 2.5 hours straight, and you couldn't even do anything. You couldn't help him. And now that he's gotten older, it's a lot better. He has definitely, through some occupational therapy and through some techniques that I have learned over the years, he has definitely learned how to manage that. And obviously it is still a struggle. Someone who has a sensory processing disorder will have that for their entire lives. It's just a matter of learning coping mechanisms and learning just how to live day-to-day life while you are basically being bombarded by stimulus all the time. So if we go out to a store, you know, for me, I can go to a store and I can generally do well and feel comfortable and not feel overwhelmed. But for a child with a sensory processing disorder, they feel overwhelmed immediately by the lights and the sounds and the people and the movement and just everything going on. They're just seeing it everywhere. And so it's just hard. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with 1 tip this week for dealing with the sensory processing disorder. And my number 1 tip, which is by far the most important tip of all, is patience. Now, every parent should be patient, obviously, and I fail. I am not a naturally patient person at all. And so for me, learning to be patient with my children was definitely a struggle, and there was definitely a growth curve because it took a very long time. And even now I fail. On a regular basis, I fail. It is very easy to get frustrated. And so I would just recommend patience across the board. And that means that when you're going somewhere that is going to bring on extra external stimuli, you really need to be extra patient with your child, because more than likely they're going to struggle and they're going to act out and they are going to do things that to a normal person's eye would look like misbehavior, but when actually it's not. They're actually just struggling and having a hard time and feeling overwhelmed. So rather than disciplining them, you need to go ahead and take a breath and have some patience and give them an extra cuddle or talk to them quietly and calmly. And if you react in an angry way or if you're too hard on them, it will backfire immediately. The child will basically have a meltdown and they will probably end up on the floor, which is much worse than whatever they were doing in the first place. So you always have to treat them with extra patience because honestly, life is just a little bit harder for them. For any other child, going to the grocery store is not a big deal. But for my children with sensory processing disorders, it is a really big deal and it is really hard. I actually do not even take them to Walmart or the mall ever anymore because it is just too much. We have also recently found out that for our younger son, even something as simple and quiet as a library program on certain days is just too much for him. So I have to be very, very careful and make sure that if we do these things, because I have 5 children, and so I have other children who would really like to do things like this. And so if we do these things, I have to be very careful that I am very, very patient with him, extra patient, because it's really hard for him. So across the board, patience, that would be my number 1 tip, to have patience. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more tips about how to live life with a child with a sensory processing disorder, please go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. If you do that, you can also click the bell and you will get notifications every time that I post. We are planning on posting this series on Fridays for the foreseeable future. I'm not quite sure how long we're going to do it for, but definitely for the next few weeks, every Friday I will be posting a new video with a new tip on how to deal with sensory processing disorder in your children. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments below and I will try to answer those in our following videos. Make sure to check out Tanya's channel, Project Happy Home, as she talks about how she deals with ADHD with her son. Thanks so much and I hope you have a great day.